Rules. This is a game that's found on rpgmaker.net, and I'll put the download link in the description. And yeah, so it's about, I believe, a boy who there's 6 rules that he has to obey, except he never thought about breaking them until he met someone. And yeah, it should be fun. At least the description said it was fun. But like I said, I'll put the download link. So let's start, I guess. Yeah, I had to get water. Alright. The noble Japanese clan Minamoto, with its centuries of heritage, had quite a few strict rules. You must not let strangers into the house, preferably not even into the forest in which we reside. If you spot strangers loitering around the property, alert us immediately. You may converse with strangers as a gesture of friendliness, but never tell them where the house is located. We are hiding for safety after all. We do not accept things from trespassers. Do not give things to trespassers either. Never, I repeat, never talk to those in Tira family. Got it? Don't trust the Tira clan. The young Minamoto no Riju never knew what was so serious about the 5th rule and that it had to be repeated twice, but he obeyed them all unconditionally anyway. Being born into the Minamoto family warranted at least such dignified behavior after all. He had learned not to ask questions because every time he did so, his father would burst into a rant, and it would take at least 10 minutes to subside. Look, child, I've told you. The Tiras humiliated and killed Lord Temiyoshi in cold blood, even though we begged them to show mercy. We will never forget what they have done. They are conniving and manipulative. They will do anything to reach their goals. They've humiliated us, and we will not forget it. It's because of them that we have to hide here like cowards, but we will not hide much longer. As part of the Minamoto clan, we have to fight. We have to fight against injustice and for the honor of our clan. His voice has been exasperated, and his usual "don't you dare speak another word, young man, or risk my battering cane" voice. And so the boy had scooted away, half wanting to ask how they could possibly fight against them without having to break Rule 5. Who knows, maybe fighting did not really need someone to open their mouth. All hail honor. Perhaps if he had known Lord Temiyoshi well enough, he would have agreed. His father certainly did. But back then, Ryoju was too young, still was, to comprehend his pain. Ryoju longed for peace. If there was any way to prolong this tranquil, ideal lifestyle, he would. If by following these rules he could protect this life, he would. A portrait of Minamoto no Maku hung under the mantelpiece, right outside the door to the boy's room. Every night before retiring, he would see that gallant face and stare in awe. He wanted to be just like him, he thought. Just like his ancestors, scholar, artist, war veteran, an able leader, kind, charismatic, admirable. He did not know when he started having these thoughts. But ever since years back, he noticed that he was too young, too unnoticed. He had way too many older brothers and sisters to be thought of anyone special. Naturally, with his own friendly smiles and polite mannerisms, he grew to become a favorite child among the adults. Still, that would only last for as long as he was a child. His name was written at the bottom of the scroll, always. He couldn't help but fear, what would happen once he grew up? What if he grew up to be a nobody? In the end, the portrait was the only thing that kept him motivated to stay awake. To become like Minamoto no Maku, that became his one and only dream. He grew up with that ambition in mind, which motivated him waking every day. Slowly, he crafted another side of himself. One which would smile like a cute child in front of the adults in his clan, and another who would sneak out of the house once in a while, searching for a high and windy spot close to nature, a wide open space. Maybe somewhere he'd be able to think of in his dreams. Even in the middle of the cold winter, pushing through the hedges excitedly, he reflected on those valiant ambitions. Crunch, crunch. Layers and layers of snow crushed beneath his feet. It was a nice sound. Minamoto no Makoto was a man who appreciated the sound of nature, his father had once said. Well, he thought wishfully, so am I. In his heart, there was nothing greater than the shining figure of hope he gave himself, the figure of his successful and heroic ancestor, the man who could achieve happiness both for himself and anyone and everyone else. How unfortunate his untimely death had been, for Minamoto no Makoto was the epitome of greatness. He was a legend, one that Minamoto clan would remember for years to come. That's why he never missed a single day of practice, never missed a single day of studying, just so that he could prove himself worthy to be the station of Minamoto no Makoto. The winters were mild in Japan. Nevertheless, when snow fell, most people would have the common sense to stay indoors. That day was one of these days. Yet, despite the cold weather and the steady falling snow, he did not break his tradition. Every month, every day, he would do it without fail. The wooden katana-shaped bakuto hanging at his hip made a pleasant clackety-clack sound. With scrolls tucked tightly under his left arm, he pressed forward. On the path among the trees he walked, pushing the branches out of his way until he reached that familiar clearing which was his one place for perfect self-improvement. Except this time he found somebody else already there. 1. You must not let strangers into the house, preferably not even the forest we reside in. Remembering that rule and feeling a strong surge of pride, he clicked his tongue annoyed. The forest belonged to his family, the aristocratic family of the Minamoto at that. Any trespasser deserved to be beheaded, though surely Rojo himself was not that cold-hearted as to insist on something like that. Surely, since his family never put up a gate or any other form of security to prevent intruders, it would be argued that you cannot possibly call any Tom, Dick, or Harry who stumbles in by accident a trespasser. Still, he was irritated at the thought of one of these precious golden rules being broken. Stomping on the ground as hard as he could to assert his superiority, he decided to confront the intruder, but stopped himself at the last minute. He gulped and sighed. It was only a young girl, perhaps 9 or 10 years of age, sitting on a cozy bamboo swing, fast asleep. Her long dark hair cascaded down her back, in stark contrast with her white skin and the snow around her, and she was decked in a beautiful snow-white kimono. A lacy parasol lay on the ground beside her. In the end, he could not bear to disturb such a white, picturesque scene, and suddenly berated himself for even considering appearing superior. After all, Minamoto did not discriminate. It was not as if he would be unable to ignore the presence of a sleeping girl. With that, he moved silently to a corner and began to open his scrolls to read. No, it was simply getting much too cold. He couldn't help but glance, grumbling at the girl taking the spot on his favorite swing. Usually Minamoto no Raju was a boy with great thirst for knowledge, yet today he was unable to absorb a single word. Perhaps he just was not in the mood to study, he told himself, as he put the scrolls down and prepared his bakuto for practice. He swung it aimlessly around a few times and gave up, angry at himself. He lowered his sword, sighing. His performance was much poorer than the day before, and with no other changes around, he decided to attribute it all to the girl's presence. As he folded his scrolls, he pursed his lips and thought, The reason why he would put in the extra effort to go out of the house was because he enjoyed nature and he enjoyed the breeze. But most of all, he enjoyed his time alone. For another person to be here, sleeping or not, his own world had pretty much been invaded. There was no way he could concentrate. He might as well have been home, listening to the endless jabbering of his brothers comparing their sword skills over a flame. Grumbling incoherently, he sat on a log that was covered with a thin carpet of snow and fiddled with the hilt of his katana. Not used to staring at people, he averted his eyes from the snow-white girl and looked up towards the similarly white sky and steadily falling snow. I need more water. Meh, this intro is so long. I can skip it, but I don't want to be confused. After a couple of minutes, he decided to pack up and go home. Just as he turned to leave, he felt a small tug at the back of his clothes. Urdu jerked around immediately. There was the snow girl, wide awake, almost completely white from head to toe, save for her dark hair and eyes. He stared at her, not sure what to say. You were awake? She shook her head slowly. There was something almost mechanical about her actions. Just woke up. Saw you there. Thought I had to apologize for intruding. Her voice was slow. It sounded as if the snow had chipped her sentences up. Riju flushed. He had no intention of blaming her, and her apologies felt utterly awkward. Meh, water. No, I don't mind at all. You can stay for as long as you wish. Her eyes widened in fear. Riju, curious, looked around frankly, just to see what the girl feared was at the start of his hip. He let out a low chuckle. Don't worry, it's just a fake. Fake? Yes, a fake. It won't hurt you. Oh. She glanced aside. Were you leaving? Certainly he had planned to leave. But that was only because he decided that training was impossible today, because there was nothing better to do here anyway. In the end, he decided to tell the truth. Yes, I was. But since you're awake, mind telling me why you're here in the first place? I was just curious, that's all. He certainly hoped that he didn't sound as if he were interrogating her, and was inwardly relieved that she did not appear to know he was a Minamoto. The snow girl seemed like a terribly fragile doe that would take off at the first slightest hint of hostility. She would definitely have run away knowing she was the boy that before her was an aristocrat's son. No, I pronounced that wrong. It was aristocrat. It would be pretty upsetting if he had just made a young girl run away like a small woodland creature just because of his identity. But she did not look at all perturbed. Like a crystal statuette, and she just stood there in front of the laden winter snow, not even lifting a hand to brush off the snow on her shoulders. No, accident. Thought I dressed. Was she telling the truth? He didn't know if she was lying, but he brushed that away at the possibility of being quite improbable. The snow girl seemed terribly pure and honest. He just couldn't seem to bring himself to doubt her. Yet, why would such a young girl be out here, alone? After all, her clothes did not look like those of a peasant, and she certainly should have guardians. God, I've never done this much reading out loud. Ryojo did not know how to answer any of the questions in his mind, but one thing was certain. If he did not take care of this lost girl, then who would? It was hardly safe for a woman to be out alone without an escort, let alone a little girl. Then I'll show you the way home. No need. There was something very crisp and simple in her curt response. Came out to explore. No need to be back home until evening. I will be fine. She did not smile, and her speech continued to be as fragile and sharp as icicles, but the boy felt his heart warm at this awkwardness. Inwardly, he was glad this girl didn't seem so used to people. The reason why he even left the house in the first place was because he was tired of the excessive noise and merriment in his own home. What will you be doing then? It's cold and it's pretty boring out here. I don't think it's boring. She looked down at her shoes, pursing her lips. Ryuju gave her a light smile and patted the snow off the log next to him. The girl looked at him awkwardly. She then walked over, taking her time, and sat gingerly on the log next to him. My name is Ryuju. What's yours? Normally it was courtesy to introduce himself by his surname, but he didn't think she would mind. She turned towards him, surveying him with her glass-like eyes. Ryuji? Yeah. She looked away and spoke more to herself than anyone else. Ryuji. Minamoto no Ryuji. Ryuji stared at her, a little taken back. How did you know? I'm correct, right? Well, yes. But how did you know that? She pointed at his kimono. The crest on your clothes. Ryuji flushed furiously. Certainly the crest of the Minamoto was still embroidered on his shawl, and he felt like a fool. Forget I asked that. The girl gave a small hint of a smile. Okay. So what's your name? Yuki. Yuki, is that your given name? Sort of. She looked down, staring at her hands. I like the snow. Haha, no surprises there. Why? You just look like the type. But I never told anyone. Never mind that, so why do you like it? It's cold. Is that a good thing, though? I thought many people normally like to stay warm. It's hot at home, like a furnace. Tell me about your home. It's too colorful. Is that a bad thing? There are too many colors. The snow is just white. It's nice. She sure was strange. That wasn't something he could really associate with. After all. I like colors, though. I was actually a little dismayed when I realized it was getting so snowy. This place looked dazzlingly in the autumn. All reds and yellows. He gave a small sigh. But yeah, I guess it gets tiring sometimes. I think you're happy. Well, yeah, I am, kind of. Yuki stared at him, tilting her head, and gave a small smile. Okay. Ryuji looked wistfully into the horizon. It's getting late. You should leave now. Are you sure you don't want me to take you home? There's no need. You should go home first. Well, I'm not going home until I make sure you're going to be alright. I'll take you out of the forest at least. I'm fine. It's not too hard to get out from here. Are you sure? She nodded. Then she patted her dress and stood up. I'm leaving. Thank you for talking to me. Bye. See you again. She didn't respond and disappeared into the trees. Ryuju watched her leave and turned in the other direction to head back. But this time Ryuju skipped home with a spring in his step. Yuki, huh? It means snow. Such a lovely name. Such a surprisingly suitable name. Minamoto no Ryuji did not expect to see her again. But then there she was, seated at the wooden string, staring lastly into the distance. In her white hands was a wooden flute, and she was puffing her cheeks up and playing a simple tune. The moment she saw him, she turned towards him and tilted her head. He could have sworn a hint of a smile appeared on her face for a second. Hello. Hello, Minamoto no Ryuji. Are you here to read again today? Surprised to see her take the initiative this time, he shook his head immediately. No, I just thought I would be able to see you. He realized what he said and flushed furiously at how cheesy his statement must have sounded. Idiot, he berated himself. She's a girl. Don't you know that such a thing would be completely and utterly inappropriate to say to a woman who isn't your fiancée? However, Yuki did not seem to be at all taken aback, and he sighed in relief. So anyway, you play the flute? Yes, Mama taught me. I was taught in band class, but whatever. That's nice. I wish my parents taught me something. They spend most of their time teaching my brothers. Okay. I mean, it's not like they never talk to me or anything. They talk to me a lot, actually. It gets tiring. That's why I like to come somewhere quiet. It feels better, don't you think? The next minute of silence felt icy cold. Finally, Yuki whispered something. It was not loud enough for him to make out the word, so he turned towards her and questioned, "Sorry, I didn't quite catch that. What did you say?" "Did you tell your parents about me?" "Huh? No." "I see. Huh? If you spot any strangers loitering around the property, alert us immediately." Suddenly, he remembered that rule. Yuki's question had unintentionally reminded him of yet another rule he had just broken. He hadn't thought of how he would break any more rules after this first, but he had to, for fear his parents would probably forbid him from entering the forest if he alerted them. Still, she did not know about the rule. Why would she ask such a question? Her expression was hard to read, and he couldn't help but feel chilly all of a sudden. Maybe the weather was turning bad again. The icy feel vanished as fast as it had come. Yuki was looking down at her shoes again. "Just worried about people talking about me." "Oh." Ryuju laughed at himself for this excessive paranoia. He chuckled, tickled by her bashful appearance. Still, the nagging feeling of his heart berated him for breaking 2 family rules in just 2 days. The girl watched him in confusion with her large eyes, and after perhaps reached the conclusion that he was laughing at her, she turned away and looked downwards again. "Sorry, I just thought of something funny, that's all." "You were laughing at me." "No, I wasn't." She turned away and stared at the pile of snow beneath the swing. That wasn't good. She needed to flash his charming token smile again to bring her out of her shell. He didn't mean to brag, but everyone loved his smile. All the adults called him a little angel. Hadn't his smile once resulted in an entire village fawning over him like bees drawn to honey? His smile would earn anyone's trust, even that of the adults. That probably worked on this girl too, or she wouldn't have come today, would she? "Stop making that face." "What? I'm not making any faces." "Your face. You have a really suspicious-looking smile." "No, I don't. I'm just being friendly." She gazed at him again with that very critical look. He gulped. Her expression was mostly blank, though, and slightly bothered. "You should go home. It's snowing. You can't train or read." "But I wanted to take a break for today." "Take breaks at home, then. It's better." "So what are you doing here, then? Shouldn't you be taking a break at home?" Yuki stopped kicking at a pile of snow in front of her. "I like the snow." "Me too, so I'm staying here." Yuki gave her another critical stare, and Ryuju held his hand up as to show that he's unarmed. Finally, she turned away and gave up. "Don't be so cold. If neither of us want to go home, we'll both be stuck here until one of us does." "Okay. Where are you from, anyways?" "Japan." She might as well answer "this world" or something equally generic. "Oh, that's great. I'm from Japan, too. I never would have known you were from the same place." She looked away again and nodded dense foliage vacantly. He looked up in an effort that seemed occupied and noticed that the sky was turning dark. "Well, I guess I need to go home now. Will you be here again tomorrow?" "Yes." "Is your house nearby in this forest?" It was a very offhand question, and so Ryuju didn't think there was anything wrong in answering her. "Yeah, it's just a bit off that way," he said, pointing towards the trees without thinking. Wait. You may converse with strangers as a gesture of friendliness, but never tell them where the house is located. We are hiding for safety, after all." Breaking 3 rules in just 2 days? Just what was wrong with him? He clamped his mouth shut before he could reveal anything else, but that girl did not seem malicious, nor did she seem disappointed or satisfied with his sudden response. "Alright, I'm actually going to skip this. I think he's just going to break all 6 rules. So, oh, he sighed in relief. Doesn't matter, nobody will ever know. I guess I can't skip it. Oh. Okay, I'm going to save. And Alright, well, that's it for today, because I really need to give my throat a break for a couple minutes. And then we'll be back. Okay? So, thank you. Bye.